Hi Year 3, I am going to teach you today a new skill that we would have learnt in the Pentecost term, and that is, can you add and subtract fractions with the same denominator? So firstly, we need to think about what a fraction is. So a fraction is a part of a whole. That could be a whole number, it could be a whole object. So if I've got one plate here, obviously, hopefully, you know that we would just write that as one whole. But if I was to split it up, say for example here, I've split it up into two pieces, I would have to write that as a fraction. So because I've split it into two pieces, my bottom number here is going to be 2. If I've got both of those pieces, which I do, I would have 2 halves. So as you can see, this is the same size of this, so I can actually put an equals. However, if I took one of those away, I would only have 1 half. Okay, I wonder if you can think about the right vocabulary that we should be using, because we've got this word denominator here in our learning challenge. So can you remember what the denominator is? Okay, so hopefully you remembered that our denominator is the bottom number and the top number is called the numerator. So when we're adding and subtracting fractions today, we're only going to be worrying about fractions that have the same denominator. So let's try a really easy example to begin with. I'm going to start with these two plates here. Okay, so I've got 1 half so 1 half, and I'm going to add the other half to it. So 1 half add 1 half equals. Now hopefully you can see from my pictorial representation here that my 1 half and 1 half comes together to make 1 whole. But if I was to write that as a fraction, I wonder how I would write it. Let me show you. So it's really easy when we're adding these fractions with the same denominator, because the denominator always stays the same, because I've only cut them into two pieces here, so it's always going to be out of 2. So I'm going to pop that in straight away. 1 add 1. Now I could do that in my head. I might not be able to, so I might use my fingers. I might go 1 add 1. I might have some coins or something to help me add that up, or some little counters, but I know that's really easy. 1 add 1 equals 2. So we can see that 1 half add 1 half gives me 2 halves. And obviously that is the same as the whole, you can see. Really easy, isn't it? Let's have a go at some more tricky examples. This time we're going to be working with, let's go with quarters. Now, again, I've got my plate here that I'm going to use to help me. And I've cut it up into 4 pieces. So I wonder if you can have a go at writing one of those pieces. 1 fraction, 1 quarter. So I know I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, so it's out of 4. So I'm going to write that bit first. Now we're looking at the piece that's white, and I can see that I've only got 1 piece out of the 4 that is white, so it's 1 quarter. Okay, so let's see if we can do some adding now then. We're going to add that 1 quarter I'm going to turn it this way so it's all a nice colour again. So we've got 1 quarter, and then we've got this fraction here, which hopefully you can see is not 1 quarter, it's 2 quarters. So I'm going to write that 2 out of the 4. So we've got 1 quarter add the 2/4, what do you think it's going to be? Now, if you're using something to help you or you're drawing it as a picture, you could count the quarters. We've got 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 is my answer. How do we write 3/4? 3 out of 4. Very simple. Now, hopefully, just as we did before, you can see that my denominator is staying the same. Nothing's happened to the denominator. It's still cut into 4 pieces. And you can see that my numerator is the one that's got bigger because I had 1, add my 2, and all together, we've got 3. Very simple, isn't it? Let's have a go with another example. This time, I have got another example, but this time my whole has been cut up into 3 parts. So I wonder if you can have a guess, I think, as to how we would write that as a fraction. So hopefully you can see that it's out of 3. So my denominator is going to be 3. Now, if I just had the 1 piece, it would be 1/3. If I had 2 of the pieces, it would be 2/3. And if I had all 3, it would be 3/3 or 1 whole, because you can see that it's the same size there. So let's see if we can do some adding with the thirds. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the 1. So we're going to have 1/3. And I'm going to add these 2/3. So 1/3 add 2/3 equals. Now, you might use the pictures to help you, see if you can work it out, but I'm going to just do it in my head because I know that my denominator is going to stay the same, so that's going to stay as 3. And I know that 1 add 2 is 3. So we've got 3/3. Now, you might also want to write that as a whole number because it is a whole number. So equals, it's the same as 1 whole. So that's addition. Subtraction is pretty much the same, okay? I'm going to use my bits of paper plates to help you as well. But this time you're basically going to do it backwards. So let's bring our quarters back. And we're going to do some subtraction. So the rules are the same. It's just the numerator that we're worrying about. The denominator is still going to stay the same. So let's start with what we've got here. Okay, so let's see if you can count how many quarters have I got. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. I've got 4/4, okay? It is the same as 1 whole, but because we're doing fractions, I'm going to keep it as the quarters of the fraction. So this time we're doing takeaway, so I'm going to do 4/4 subtract, and I'm going to take away this piece. Now this piece, hopefully you can tell me, is 1/4. So I'm going to take away 1/4, 1 out of the 4. Let's see how many we've got left. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So my numerator is going to be 3 and my denominator is staying the same as 4. So I've got 3/4 left. So you can see that if we didn't have that to help us, we can still do it just by looking at the numbers. My denominator stays the same. 4 subtract 1 is 3. So I could have 4 subtract 1 and I've got 3 left. It's really simple, isn't it? Now, what you can then do, we can get rid of these plates because we've mastered it already. We might just be able to have a practice writing some different calculations and working it out in our head. So, for example, let's see if we could have, let's think about eighths. 5 eighths, add 2 eighths. So my denominator is going to stay the same, and I've got 5 add 2. So I'm going to have 5 add 2, and I've got 7. Really simple. Maybe let's get a bit trickier. Let's maybe do a subtraction with some tenths. So if something is broken up into 10 pieces, I'm going to start with 9/10, and I'm going to take away 3/10. So again, you might be able to do that in your heads. I'm going to use my fingers to help me. So I've got 9, and I'm going to take away 1, 2, 3, and I'm left with 4, 5, 6. And then again, it's still out of 10, so my denominator is staying the same. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an insight to adding and subtracting with fractions with the same denominator. Obviously, please contact your teachers if you're struggling a bit, but I think this is a really easy skill to get started with and a good, fun way to practice your fractions. You might be able to get lots of paper plates. You could do it with sweets, however you like. So, bye guys.